Hi lovies, and welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Malinda's channel. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. And to my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos and also educate you guys are the real MVP. Thank you so much. All right, lovelies, let's dive into this video. So lovelies, I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok, and I thought to share with you guys where Pe.Ple people are finally out to show their own support in times of what is happening in the society, and I was able to put up some of their stitches. I'm just gonna roll it as well as some of other stitches I was able to put together. Please leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video, and please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational purposes. Alright, lovely, let's dive into it.
So I got called a race traitor by an old school friend the other day, which is an interesting experience if it's ever happened to you. For context, I grew up in South Africa, so my old school friend is one of the guys from my school who remained in South Africa. And I was talking about the necessity to be anti-racist, not just not racist. And his assertion back was, we are now oppressed by reverse racism, and you should be proud to be white. I'm proud to be a white man. And I've got two things to say about this, really. The first is, how the fuck can you be proud of something that you had absolutely nothing to do with? It's like being proud of being tall or proud of having brown eyes. You had nothing to do with it. There's no pride involved in that, particularly because as a white man, you've never suffered from any disadvantage that you've had to overcome due to your race or your gender. And therefore, to be a proud white man is utterly nonsensical because there's no achievement in what you've done. And I'll come back to the South African context in a second. But as an aside, I wanted to say a person is perfectly capable of being a proud black man, because to step out into the world as a black man, for example, amongst other races, requires the overcoming of systemic disadvantages. So you have achieved something by living out loud as a black man. And so saying I'm a proud black man means something. Saying I'm a proud white man in the Western world is a meaningless and rather stupid and delusional thing to say. But I said I'd come back to the South Africa thing because I think it's important. Because there are many, many white people there who say that they are now the oppressed, that they are now suffering from reverse racism. And I say that's nonsense. For decades and decades, the white people of South Africa were the oppressors, particularly, of course, under the apartheid regime. But since the 1994 election and majority government in a truly democratic South Africa, whites have not been oppressed in return for their original oppression. They have simply had their advantages taken away. It's not the same thing. I think many white South Africans, particularly English-speaking ones, are completely ignorant of the fact that the reason there was such a low unemployment rate amongst whites in South Africa was that thousands and thousands and thousands of non-jobs were created by the state in the quangos, like the railways, the post office, the army, the police, the power grid, where often there were 5 people doing the job of 1. It was basically protected employment for whites who were otherwise unemployable. So when all of that ended, is it any surprise that that advantage disappeared?
Oftentimes when someone comes to the realization that someone's belief system is harmful, they will very quickly reject the beliefs, but what is often forgotten to be shed is the underlying ideologies and thought processes behind the beliefs. So when they move on to new beliefs, they interact with them with the same thought processes as before. A child may reject their parents' abusive, neglectful treatment of them early on, but will go on to be adults who think of themselves as inherently bad and undeserving of love for much, much longer. Some ex-Christian atheists may have shed the belief in God and the faith in the institutions and churches, but now with atheism, they will still believe themselves to be adhering evangelically to a one true way and proselytizing those new beliefs with a sense of moral superiority. In the pagan community, we call this latent Christianity. White leftists often face this issue too. They have rejected racism colonization and take up the fight against them, but they will do it with the same violent rhetoric and bloody fantasies that would have once had people of color in their crosshairs. While violence is sometimes necessary in revolution, white leftists really need to sit with themselves and ask themselves if the power fantasies and glee and violence they express online is still anti-racist if it is informed from oppression. They need to ask themselves if the language of violence is one that they are fluent enough in, and if it is time to speak with a different tongue, especially considering that many of us were not always leftists. Some of you were only recently, as of the last couple of years, on this side of the movement and have literally only word swapped out who you are wishing which kind of violence against. The underlying thought process and ideologies are still the same. I want to challenge other white leftists to really ask themselves if the death of innocence is something to cheer, period. If swinging fists is truly the best way for them to specifically to envision lasting change, and if their violent rhetoric online actually separates them from the violent rhetoric of any other white person on the internet. This isn't about no violence ever, period. This is about white people asking themselves if they're really as anti-racist as they think.
I just saw a video of an employment attorney talking about a case where a black woman won $11 million because she was fired for being tardy. The company said she was tardy 45 times, but she was claiming disparate impact, meaning she was treated differently than people of other races for the same thing, the same violation. And this is something that happens way, way, way too often. So, as someone in HR, I've seen it too many times. And let me tell you how it goes, or how it went for me. I had a manager come see me, and she said, this person's performance is subpar. They are not meeting our standards that we have outlined in our policies. Here are the policies. Here's this person's signature on these policies. They are supposed to meet these standards, and they're not. And I was pretty new in my role, and I was like, okay, that sounds reasonable. Like, you have your documentation, you have that they signed off on the policy. One thing I just want to review, just to make sure all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed, let's look at the stats of everyone else on the team and, make sure that this person is indeed performing far worse than everyone else. Because if we have data, that's certainly something that would come up in a court case. So we want to make sure, that we have our ducks in a row. And the manager said, that she hadn't actually tested the other people on the team. She hadn't gotten their stats together. It's just that this person was their performance was so bad that it was quite obvious how bad they were doing. So this is somewhere I worked. It was a pretty liberal place. Everyone wore Black Lives Matter pins. We had banners, signs, everything. This manager, had marched in protests, wore the pins, had the signs, and this person that she was trying to fire was the only black person on her team, and she had not looked at anyone else on the team. This is how it happens. We don't know our own biases. And so she was thinking, I'm managing the performance of my team. This is pretty open and shut. This person is performing poorly. I'm going to terminate them. And when we ended up talking to the person, they were like, yeah, I wasn't trained properly. I didn't have enough knowledge to do what she was saying that I needed to do. And I told her that, and she didn't provide training. And, there was much, much more. We did not end up terminating the person, but the manager, it was difficult to work with the manager after that because she was very, very sensitive to being called out for discriminatory behavior. And so it's challenging, like in HR, to call people out and have those standards to kind of say, like, I'm going to speak up for this when I see something going down like this. And the other side of that is what often happens is it can sometimes damage the relationship with the managers so that they stop coming to you, which means you can not see the things that are happening that you need to see. So it really takes a balancing act of then like making a concerted effort to rebuild that relationship, to help educate and train and help them do better. We can't just, it's not, we're never able to like go in and just, fire the bad managers, right? It's often our job to fix the problems that they create. And this is how you can fix that problem, is calling them out and then doing education, training, rebuild that relationship, establish a relationship of trust, keep going. Let them know that like, it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. This is how we can do better. Let's do better together. I don't know. This sounds very idealistic, and it's certainly not easy. I've had it work. I've had it not work. But in the end, what's important to me is how I feel about the work that I do. And it's important to me to do the right thing. So for me, that's the most important thing. And whatever else happens, happens.
We've got a bar over there that's Brazilian, favela. We've got Pizza Americano, which if you're from Barnsley, it's an absolute stronghold of after a night out. Everybody's getting a pizza from there. Owned by people who are not from Barnsley, foreign people. Soul Lounge, not British, not Barnsley. Everything in this town has got some contribution from non-British, non-Barnsley people. Half our Barnsley team are not British, and we love it. The immigrants make our society better. They're what make us better as people and make us proud to be British. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of people making the small minorities in society the scapegoat for all the problems. Your problems are from classism. Your problems are from the top down, people making us feel small because we're working class. But I'm proud to be working class, and I'm proud to be anti-racist working class as well, and I will not have it in my town.
Like, seriously, lovelies, I actually want to chip in about the South African, people, about the white people that is actually living in South Africa, claiming that they are experiencing what is called by reverse racism. And this thing is something that have been trending and going all over social media, and a lot of people have so many commentaries, especially some colored people decide to come out, a lot of them crying and showing the level at which they are living. A lot of them even claim to be suffering from poverty and all of that. And this just lead me to one thing. This just made me to keep asking this question. South Africa, as it is, I think it's more populated by black people, I think, which is like Africa. And the white people that is living in South Africa, it was said that they are the people that came from the Europe, during the colonization era. So they came down to, from Europe down to Africa, and most of them, after, enslaving so many people and selling them off, slave ship and all of that, so many of them decided to, okay, maybe they want to retire in South Africa because they really enjoy the weather and all of that. And now they have already claimed part of South Africa to be theirs, like they are European African descent. I don't know. Now, a lot of them have been complaining about how discriminatory, people over there, and this, I keep asking, how is it possible for a colonizer to experience discrimination? Like, if you know that maybe you have been experiencing a sort of discrimination in another man's land, like you feel that within you that, okay, you are not being treated well and all of that, I think it's best to actually go to a place that that you own so much. I have seen a lot of South African creators coming out to talk about how they actually want to claim how they are. They actually want to they still want to continue oppressing them, but because they stood up to their ground trying to reclaim their ancestral land, they are now seeing them as the racist, like racist people. The thing about how some pan-colored people are, if they're in a place, they want to be even if that place does not belong to them, they just want to colonize that place. They want to be in charge. They want to be the one that will control the place. They want to be the one that will tell anything that is happening. They want to be the head and the tail of, you know, the certain demographic that they find themselves. But it's as if these people are still trying not to be recolonized anymore, and they don't want, like, just imagine someone from maybe somewhere in Africa going to Europe to try to control European people, or try to like make them like it's somehow. And when you've not been given such opportunity to control the European people as an African person, then you come out to cry online how you are being racist towards. Like, you can't leave Africa going to Europe to try to see if you can, colonize things there. I think this is the problem people living in South Africa have, especially the pan-colored people, who often complain about how they're being treated, and how it's not as if they're even being treated in such a horrific manner, the way at which what it means to be a black person in a civilized world. I think they are not saying what, like, they want to control, they want to, but they don't see that chance. They're not given such opportunities. So because of that, they are complaining a lot. Like, seriously. And anyways, I like the way at which so many pan-color people are now coming out. So many anti-race pan-color people are now coming out to actually make the world, make some of them that have a certain way of thinking to realize that there is something more than whatever your eyes have seen. Anyway, lovelies, why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational or informative purposes. So please subscribe to this channel if you're here to do that. Like this video, and I will see you, lovelies, when I upload the next one. And if you have watched up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational purposes. So please subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that. Like, and I will see you, lovelies, when I upload the next one.